We are looking at the English Home Language Grade 9, November 2025, Paper 2. The paper consists of 4 sections, and our section A is the comprehension passage, which is 20 marks. Our section C is the visual literacy, which is 10 marks. Our section B is the summary, 10 marks. And our section D is the language, 20 marks. We are supposed to read all the questions carefully. We are supposed to answer all the questions. We are supposed to start each section on a new page. We roll off, draw a line after each section. We number the answers correctly according to the numbering system used in the question paper. We are supposed to write neatly and legibly and pay special attention to spelling and sentence construction. Our suggested time allocation is 40 marks for section A, 25 marks for section B, 25 marks for section C, and 30 marks for section D. When we are starting off with our section A, it is the comprehension passage, and we are supposed to read for meaning and understanding. When we are saying we are reading for meaning and understanding, we expect that 3 times is the reading process, so that you understand and get the full knowledge of what is in the comprehension passage. Our question 1 is from Smithsonian Magazine, and we have to answer the questions that follow the in full sentences. The title of the comprehension says why the Cape Town fire is a devastating loss for South African cultural heritage. The inferno destroyed much of the University of Cape Town's special collections, including rare books, films, photographs, and records. A wildfire that sparked on the slopes of South Africa's Table Mountain raged across the University of Cape Town, UCT, on Sunday and into Monday, damaging or destroying a number of historic structures and campus buildings. Among the most significant losses were the university's plant conservation unit offices and the Jaeger Reading Room, which housed priceless artifacts related to African history, including the 19th century watercolors painted by indigenous peoples, maps, manuscripts, and government records, according to Nature's Lyndon Nordling. The blaze broke out on the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak around 9 a.m. Sunday, rapidly spreading down the mountain to the university campus. About 4,000 students were evacuated from nearby residences and moved to temporary housing. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the fire, which was one of several sparked in the area over the weekend. Authorities are investigating the possibility that an arsonist started at least one of the blazes. Police took a 35-year-old male suspect into custody on Sunday night. Strong southeasterly winds pushed the fire towards Cape Town's densely populated neighborhoods, where flames engulfed campus buildings and a hillside restaurant attached to the Rhodes Memorial, which commemorates British colonialist Cecil Rhodes. The blaze also destroyed Mosted's Mill, a 225-year-old structure that was the country's oldest working windmill. More than 200 firefighters and emergency personnel worked to battle the flames alongside 4 helicopters. 3 firefighters were hospitalized with serious burns, but no other casualties were reported. The greatest loss may be felt at the Jaeger Reading Room, which forms part of the UCT Library's special collections and holds many unique and irreplaceable items that tell the story of South African history. Pippa Scottness, curator of the school's archives, tells the Times that the university's African film collection was among the losses. The archive posted some 3,500 rare African archival films and was one of the few of its kind in the world. University librarians had been working to digitize the films, but the process is extraordinarily time and labor-intensive, so just a wafer-thin silver of the total collections had been preserved. UCT special collections also include a range of print and audiovisual artifacts related to African studies. These holdings represent one of the most expansive selections of rare books, photographs, films, letters, and other primary sources documenting South African history, including a robust trove of materials related to the fight against apartheid. The Jagger building itself dated to the 1830s and had recently been renovated. Officials are holding out hope that the flames failed to reach the bulk of the archive, which is stored in 2 basement floors protected by fireproof doors. Many fear that firefighting efforts inadvertently flooded the basement with water. The article is adapted from Smithsonian Magazine by Nora McGreevy on April 20, 2021. We are going to go to the understanding of the comprehension by proving that when answering the questions, we show evidence that we understood. Right, when we are coming in today to the comprehension passage questions, we are going to start with 1.1. Right, in 1.1, it says, from where was the article taken? And I believe it was at the top of the comprehension and at the bottom of the comprehension. And the article was adapted from. Okay. Okay. They called it the Smithsonian Magazine. One of the things is they called it adapted from, so I believe it would also be right to say the article was adapted from the Smithsonian Magazine. It was 1 mark, and as a result, that's where it came from. Our 1.2 says, where did the fire originate? Right. When we are coming into the fire, we were told that it came from the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak. That was from, I believe, paragraph 1. A wildfire that sparked on the slopes of South Africa's Table Mountain raged across the University of Cape Town. And I believe paragraph 3 also says, the blaze broke out on the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak. So that is where our fire is coming from. Right. The fire broke out the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak. Right. Right, we go to 1.3, list 2 of the most important losses mentioned in the article. All right. One of the things that we're going to mention according to the passage were the following. Among the most significant losses were the university's plant conservation unit offices and the Jagger reading room. There we go. And I believe We also have the Mosted's mill, and as a result, it was destroyed, which is a 225-year-old structure. So as a result, how many marks was this? Let's confirm. It was only 2 marks. So as a result, we are going to talk about Rhodes Memorial. Rhodes Memorial. Monsters Hill. Mosted's Hill is the first one. I believe one of the things is the Jagger reading room. That's the second one. That prized artifacts. I believe the third thing that is mentioned would be the plant conservation unit offices. Right, so those are the most important glosses that are mentioned in the article. Explain the crime of arson is our question 1.4. Right, arson is the act of intentionally setting fire to property with the intention of causing damage. Right. What contributed to making the fire most difficult to contain? What contributed to making the fire more difficult to contain? All right. Let's go to the passage and find out quickly. It says, strong southeasterly winds push the fire, that's paragraph 4, towards Cape Town's densely populated neighborhoods. I believe one of the things, that's the first reason that we have to give. Strong southeasterly winds. Made it difficult to contain the fire as it spread quickly. Answer true or false. If false, correct the statement. That's 1.6. And the blaze caused damage to the Mosted's Hill. Right. Let's go and confirm. The blaze also destroyed Mosted's mill, a 225 year-old structure. That was the country's oldest working windmill. This is Mosted's mill. What does our question say? Mosted's mill. Okay. It's false. It becomes false. The blaze caused damage to. This word is wrong. It's another name. Ours is Mosted's mill. That's our name. Firefighters accidentally ruined the archive in the basement of the Jagger building. Right. Ruin the archive. I believe it's false. We have to correct it because it says many fear that the firefighters' efforts inadvertently flooded the basement with water. They didn't accidentally ruin it. So as a result, there we go. It says, I believe it's, there it is. Many fear that firefighting efforts inadvertently flooded the basement with water. So that's where we have our false there. All right. We are going to 1.7. Give a synonym from the passage for the word fire. I believe we've been reading it so many times. It's blaze. A synonym from the passage for the word fire is blaze. Give an antonym, that's 1.8, from the passage for the word restored. Right. Damaged. Antonym is damaged. Okay. Explain the literal and figurative meaning of the term wafer thin. I believe we'll start with the literal. Literally, it means extremely thin, but figuratively, we are talking about the doors were very slim, or minimal in terms of protecting level what was inside. That's our 1.9. Or 1.10 says, how do we know that the African film collection was very old? Right. I believe the year was given. Let's be very sure. I believe it was given. It says, yes, the Jagger building itself dated to the 1830s. And as a result, that's how we are going to know that the African, which one are we on? documenting South African history, including a robust trove of materials related to the fight against apartheid. Oh, the Jacob building itself dating to the 1830s. Yes. I believe one of the things that it did was to give us documenting the South African history that dated to the 1800s. The African Film Collection. Dated back to yeah. The African Film Collection dated back to documentaries of the South African history from the 1800s. Right. So it was the 1830 as we are given the title theme. Why were the fireproof doors not able to prevent damage to the archive stored in the 2 basement floors? Right. When we're coming in today and we're talking about the fireproof doors, I believe when we are coming into what happened with the firefighters, we are told that the damage was not intentional. So we have to take that into consideration and know that it wasn't by intention. So we're going to state it as this way. It was due to the water. The water seeped in. And it was not the failure of fireproof doors to stop the fire. The fire did not go in, but what went in was the water. Do you agree with Pieper Scottness's reason for not digitizing the African films? Justify your answer. Let's go to what she says. She says, Pieper Scottness, curator of the school's archives, tells the Times that the university's African film collection was among the losses. The archive boasted some 3,500 rare African archival films and was one of the few of its kind in the world. University librarians had been working to digitize the films, but the process is extraordinarily time and labor intensive. So just a wafer-thin silver of the total collections had been preserved. The question says, do we agree with the reason for not digitizing the African films? 3,500 rare African archival films. I believe it was a yes or no answer. Based on if you said yes, you would say it will take a lot of work and money to digitize them, and therefore it means it demanded a big budget. because there were a lot of archival films there. But then if you wanted to say no, your reasoning would be that it's invalid because that is rare African archival films that needed to be preserved, and therefore it will be a part of the future, having proof of the history of where they are coming from that they are not aware of, and it will be preserved and used for future generations. And therefore, it means that it would remain intact. The films would remain intact. So it was an opinionated answer, and it was up to you to decide. And then we move on to do you agree that this particular Cape Town fire was a devastating disaster, even though there were only 3 casualties? Justify your answer. It was, I agree. I would agree. I would agree that it was a devastating fire, disaster, in the sense that there was so much loss, huge loss. 2, historical material. And when we say historical material, we are talking about rare books, photos, films on South African history. So that will come in as saying it was a cultural loss, and therefore it means it's an impact on the history of South Africa being lost forever. That is our total section A. We are going to section B, which is our visual text. Study the poster and answer the questions that follow. Don't let your world go up in smoke. Home fires are preventable. Always smoke outside. Many things in your home can catch on fire if they touch something hot like a cigarette or others. Mattresses and bedding can catch on fire very easily. It is always safer to smoke outside. Right. According to the poster, the implication is that smoking, which happens indoors, causes the homes to catch fire. And I believe when we say a lot of things catch fire in the homes, we are talking of mattresses, bedding can catch fire easily. So the advert encourages that it is always safer to smoke outside. So smoking indoors is a potential cause of home fires, and we see this by the burning of the house in the poster. Right. Now we are going to look at the answers, and it says, what caused the home to catch alight? As a result, it says smoking. Smoking inside the house caused the fire. Okay. 2.2 says were the man and the dog and his dog saved? Justify your answer. I believe the answer will be a yes. The image shows them escaping through the smoke. from the burning house. Why do you think the words, that's 2.3, home fires are preventable, are in a larger font than the words below it? Right. One of the things that we're going to talk about is that they emphasize the main message of the poster, and therefore we are saying we link to the AIDA principle, which grabs the reader's attention. To home fires being preventable. That's our 2.3. Explain how the idiom to go up in smoke is depicted in the image. One of the things that we are going to use is, it said explain how the idiom, it was 2 marks. The idiom means something is destroyed by fire, and our image, the image shows a house up in smoke, meaning it's burning down. Right. What is the main message is 2.5 of the poster. Right. Preventing home fires is the main message. Our 2.6 says, how does the image persuade the reader to think twice about his or her actions? I believe one of the things is the black smoke shows the extent of the fire is beyond control, which will force the reader to actually regard being safe and consider smoking outside to prevent such a dangerous situation. We are on 2.7. According to the poster, where will one find research on fire prevention? It said, according to the poster, let's go and see what they gave us there in the poster. Or there it is, www.usfa.fema.gov. So that's our research answer. How would you use color to make the poster more effective? I believe one of the things would have been contrasting colors. Do be the contrasting colors, and also use orange. And I believe it could have been colors that could have been infused will be bold red, orange, and I believe changed color of the dog's fur could also that has taints of black in it to show the smoke. And I believe those are the things that we can talk about. Right. That's our total section B, which is 10 marks. Read the passage below and summarize it into 7 points. Right. Our summary is supposed to be 70 words. Include the main idea and important details only. Remember that the summary must be written in your own words. Up to 7 marks will be awarded for important details. Your summary must be written in full sentences and be grammatically correct. Up to 3 marks will be awarded for correct word count. And it also says correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Count and write down the number of words used at the end of the passage. Used at the end of your paragraph. So as a result, when we're coming in today, we are saying, let's take the most important things about our summary. Our summary is dictating that we write a paragraph summary. We use our own words. And when we have used our own words, we must be able to give 7 points. And therefore, when we are coming in today, you have to highlight the most important details only. And when we have highlighted the most important details, that's when we can be able to change them into our own words. Let's begin. Why the Cape Town fire is a devastating loss for South African cultural heritage. A wildfire that sparked on the slopes of South Africa's Table Mountain raged across the University of Cape Town, UCT, on Sunday and into Monday, damaging or destroying a number of historic structures and campus buildings. Among the most significant losses were the university's plant conservation unit offices and the Jaeger reading room, which housed priceless artifacts related to African history, including 19th century watercolors painted by indigenous peoples, maps, manuscripts, and government records, according to Nature's Linda Notley. The blaze broke out on the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak around 9 a.m. Sunday, rapidly spreading down the mountain to the university campus. About 4,000 students were evacuated from nearby residences and moved to temporary housing. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the fire, which was one of several sparked in the area over the weekend. Authorities are investigating the possibility that an arsonist started at least one of the blazes. Police took a 35-year-old male suspect into custody on Sunday night. Strong southeasterly winds pushed the fire towards Cape Town's densely populated neighborhoods, where flames engulfed campus buildings and a hillside restaurant attached to the Rhodes Memorial, which commemorates British colonialist Cecil Rhodes. The blaze also destroyed Mostet's Mill, a 225-year-old structure that was the country's oldest working windmill. This article is adapted also from Smithsonian Magazine by Nora McGreevy, April 20, 2021. Summary is 10 marks. And as a result, when we are coming in today, we are going to look at only 7 points must be used. I'm going to use the space for the summary so that we can be able to show our own words. Right. When we're coming in, we said 7 marks for 7 points. Let's highlight our most important points that we're supposed to take there. I believe the first one is a wildfire that sparked on the slopes, damaging or destroying a number of historic structures and campus buildings. That's one. I believe the other thing that is relevant today is if we are going to talk about the most significant losses, we cannot leave that out. Universities, plant conservation unit offices, and I believe that's what we have. We move on to number 3. Number 3 says, about 4,000 students were evacuated from nearby residencies and moved to temporary housing. I believe this one, the first point in that paragraph is a repetition of the point that we took as number 1 in the summary. So that's why we will not include it. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the fire, which is our number 4. And I believe our number 5, police took a 35-year-old male suspect into custody. That becomes our number 5. When we're coming in, it's strong southeasterly winds push the fire towards Cape Town's densely populated neighborhoods. And finally, it is the blaze also destroyed. That's our number 6. And our number 7 is the blaze also destroyed Mosted's Mill, a 225-year-old structure that was the country's oldest working windmill. And there we go. Those are our 7 points. And now let's try and put them into our own words and see if we can fare off. 7 points are in place, and therefore we need to try and show the skill of saying we use our own words and we try and show the paragraph beautifully and properly. And as such, that's what we are supposed to give in. All right, it's 70 words, I believe. Yes. Right. Let's begin and see. A wildfire on Table Mountain. Ravaged the University of Cape Town. Over Sunday and Monday, damaging believe I'm going to have to change this a little. I think I might need to change it if possible. Okay. Damaging property. Right. Significant losses included priceless artifacts related to African history, About 4,000 students were evacuated. I think I need to be sure of the next one. Okay. Asan is the next point. Investigations are being done to find the cause. A 34-year-old man or a 35, it's a 35-year-old man has been and I believe we move on and say the fire spread due to the wind, towards densely populated neighborhoods. The 225-year-old Mosted's Hill was also destroyed. Okay, what are we leaving out? I believe, let's count the words and see what we have. Did we make the word count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. I have 72 words, I believe. So as a result, that's our summary that we are coming into for question I believe it's question 3, which was the summary. We go to question 4, which was language structures and conventions. Classify the nouns listed in the table into one of the following categories below. Right, it says your answers on your answer paper. Right, let's see what we are supposed to be having. Common noun, compound noun, complex noun, proper noun, and abstract noun. Okay, we classify devil's peak is, I believe it is a proper noun because it is the name of Table Mountain. So we'll call it a proper noun. Wafer thin, it will be a compound noun. Okay. Write the sentence below in the simple present tense. The Jacker building had been renovated. And I believe what happens is, in simple present tense, it becomes the Jacker building is renovated. Write the sentence below in the simple past tense. It says, the Jacker reading room had been holding many unique and irreplaceable items. Okay, the Jacker reading room held many unique and irreplaceable items. Identify the punctuation used in the word below. Right, nature, one of the things, capital letters, the capital letter of the capital letter N. The headline below is a statement. Change it into a simple sentence question. Why the Cape Town fire is a devastating loss for South African cultural heritage. Is the Cape Town fire a devastating loss for South African cultural heritage? Question mark. Identify the subject, finite verb, and object in the sentence below. The most significant losses were the plant conservation unit and the Jacker reading room. Okay, we have to identify the subject. The subject becomes the most significant losses. That is our subject. Right, we have to find our finite verb. It is were. That's our finite verb. And we have to find the object. The object is the plant conservation unit, and the Jacker reading room becomes the object. Write the sentence in singular. You will need to add an article and make sure that there is agreement with the subject and the verb. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the fire. And I believe it becomes an authority since we have to add an article. An authority is currently investigating the cause of the fire. Finally, we are going to 4.8. It says, give the correct form of the adjective. The fire has caused a bad loss of all the fires in 2020. I believe bed loss is what we are looking at. We have to give the correct form there, and therefore it becomes the fire has caused the worst loss of all the fires in 2020. Okay. Write the root word of the underlined word. Flames engulfed capital campus buildings, it says. The root word is, right, remember we have to remove the prefixes, and if we remove the prefixes, we remain with the root word. As a result, when we remove the prefix n and ed of the suffix, it will be engulf. That's our root word. All right. We go on to 4.10. In direct speech, we have to write the sentence below. In direct speech, Linda Knocking said that the Jagger reading room had housed priceless art effects. So in direct speech, it means we will have to say Linda Nodling said the Jagger reading room had housed priceless art effects. And we put a full stop and we close our direct quotation marks. Write the sentence below. In reported speech, reporters confirmed the blaze broke out on the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak. Reporters confirmed that the blaze broke out on the lower slopes of nearby Devil's Peak. Identify the sentence below is our 4.12 as a simple or compound sentence. These holdings represent one of the most expansive selections of rare books, photographs, films, letters, and other primary sources documenting South African history. Definitely, it's a simple sentence. There's one idea. All right, we go to 4.13. Use the sentences below to write a compound sentence. 3 firefighters were hospitalized with serious burns. More than 200 firefighters worked to battle the flames. I believe we have to remove the full stop and we put the conjunction and. We remove the capital letter M and put it into a small one. And that becomes our compound sentence. Write the sentence below in the passive voice. Firefighters inadvertently flooded the basement with water. And therefore, remember its subject, it's firefighters. And inadvertently flooded is our verb. Basement is our object. So we are starting with the object. It becomes the basement was inadvertently flooded with water by firefighters. And that becomes our passive voice. As a result, we have come to the end of our question paper, and therefore those are the language structures that we were doing in the language paper that is for the grade 9s. A good day to you all.